Yes. So if you agree, I will start this session with the topic that you asked me regarding the scientific papers and how to write and submit scientific papers. And I will share the screen. But I need.
Yeah, you need permission. Femi, can you grant permission to share screen, please?
I don't have, I think.
Yes, we will grant you now, please. Yes, you have the rights.
Yes, I'm allowed to. Okay. Just a sec. I think you can see now my screen, right? The full screen.
Yes, please.
Okay, good. So, well, I must say before I start that we can, this kind of topic, I usually prepare this for, well, half an hour, 1 hour, but could be 3 days or an entire week. So we'll do it in, well, roughly in half an hour, of course, and after that we'll have time for discussion and some questions if you want. So it's not too much time, but will be enough, I mean, for an introduction to the topic, I would say. So I will talk mainly about how to structure and to write a scientific manuscript. And as Dr. Waleed just mentioned, I have some experience as an editor of some relevant journals. In particular, the big one here mentioned, the Journal of Clinical Production. I'm one of the executive editors. Despite the name, this is mainly a sustainability-related journal. And I'm also editor-in-chief of a baby journal or spin-off journal of the big one, so of the Journal of Clinical Production. So I'm editor-in-chief of a new journal, the Clinical Production Letters. So I have, let's say, some experience as an editor for many years, and I will share with you some of that experience. Just to emphasize that this presentation is adapted from the original presentation that was developed by Professor Don Housing. Professor Don Housing was the founder and was the editor-in-chief for many years of the Journal of Clinical Production. So just to give the credits to my good friends, our good friend, Professor Don Housing is a mentor and a friend that was the founder of this journal. So, of course, I mean, I have some contents here. Of course, we will not have enough time to deep dive in all these topics, but I will try to highlight some of the most important topics regarding, well, preparatory questions and how to write the manuscript. As I said, my experience is a bit biased because it's mainly related with these two journals. The Journal of Clinical Production is one of the biggest journals in sustainability area at international level. And also with this new journal, well, not so new, with 3 years or 4 years, the Clinical Production Letters. I also have some connections with some journals, and also Dr. Wale is also connected with those. From other publishers, Sustainable Development and Business Strategy and the Environment. I was guest editor of some issues some years ago. So let me start with some preparatory questions. Wale, I don't know, but if you want, you can interrupt. If they want, they can interrupt. I will be happy with that. Or we can reserve the questions for the last part. It's up to you.
Yeah, we can reserve the question for the last part, so that we don't interrupt this presentation. Yes,
that's fine. Let's proceed. So let me start with the preparatory questions. So when we start writing a paper, we are exploring new frontiers. We are exploring new paradigms, new highways. In this case, new paradigms or new frontiers of sustainable development. And in fact, we are trying to add value. That's the most important thing. And to share knowledge with other colleagues, with other friends, with other students, with other academics. And in fact, and much more than share knowledge, we want to make an impact. We want to make a societal impact. That's the most important thing when we are writing a paper and publishing a paper. So, in fact, we can say that we're always discovering, making new connections with these new things that we are exploring. And in fact, we can say that discovery consists of looking with new lens or new eyes, let's if you prefer, to the same thing, but thinking different. And thinking different, it's the key piece of the puzzle. So could be the same thing, but with different eyes or different lens. So let me start with the first question: to publish or not to publish? That's the first thing that we should be able to answer. And why we want to publish? We want to publish simply because we need to achieve something. And in fact, when we start thinking on why we should publish, we are this guy here. And these people are waiting. They are reviewers, editors. Well, we should be able to deal with these people to have the paper accepted. And so when we start thinking on publishing and a new paper, we must be aware that there are thousands of publishers, thousands of journals, and millions. I'm sorry, this is running out. And millions of peer review articles already published. So these numbers I would say that they are impressive because they are huge. And we should be aware of this because it's not easy to publish. It's not easy to select the best journal. It's not easy, to understand all this process. So why we publish? Why we need to publish? What is your personal reason for publishing? Well, in many cases, it's because we want to conclude our PhD. And that's fair enough, because when we are developing and writing our PhD and doing our research, some of the main achievements are related with publications. We want to publish our work because we want to make an impact, and also because we want to share the knowledge with others. So that's, and we also know that people, I mean, the academics and academia, they value better a PhD degree with publications, and we all know that. Other reason is related with funding. We want funding, we want funds, we want to get funding to support our research. And to get funding, we need to have a good track record. We need to have a good CV, and the good CV means not only, but includes to have publications. And of course, to get promoted in academia, but not only in academia, to be promoted, one of the important pillars to be promoted is related with publications, of course, with many other things like supervising projects, teaching, and many other things, but also very much related with publications. And of course, many other reasons that we don't have here all the possibilities, but for sure that you can think about other reasons. So we all know this, but however, the reviewers and the editors, or the editors and the reviewers, they ignore this. I mean, they don't care. And in fact, when they reject papers or when they accept papers, I mean, they are not thinking on this, on the reasons behind publishing. So we should be able to deal with this again. So why we publish? Let's summarize. Scientists publish, I mean, to share, as I already mentioned, to share the research with the community, to make an impact, to present new and unique original findings, results, and methods. And of course, in some cases, to systematize already published results, and also to present reviews, theoretical reviews, so the more theoretical papers. For example, a literature review paper. And I will come back to these topics when we arrive on the different types of papers. So what we want and what we don't want when we are talking about publishing scientific papers. So what the publishers and the editors want for their journals. So they want, in fact, original material. So they want new things with value-added findings that will be significant for the society and for academia and, well, for everybody, we will say, with significant advances in the fields. So, and in fact, they also want, I mean, research that was conducted with appropriate methods and conclusions that are well structured and that meet the ethical standards, all that. But they don't want duplications, repetitions, and in many cases, I mean, nowadays, this is a trap that in some cases, I mean, authors present papers that are kind of duplications. Sometimes they are not aware of that, but the papers are not new enough. And in some cases, they are a duplicate because they are, I mean, they have a problem. They have plagiarism issues. That's why they are duplicated. Another thing that we don't want, a scientific paper is not a report. It's not like a report of a scientific project. So it's different. The structure, the content, the flow, all that is completely different or is significantly different from a report of a scientific project. And of course, be careful with this. We also don't want work that is out of date or work that was conducted with inappropriate methods or approaches. And of course, studies with lack of data or insufficient data. So be careful with work that is out of date. For example, when we are doing a PhD and when we decide that we will publish all the papers after we get the PhD, the degree. So maybe in some cases, I mean, that could be a problem that is risky because some of the data will be or could be out of date. So be careful with the data that could be out of date. Or be careful when the data is not enough. I mean, when you have insufficient data to support your research. Maybe it's better to wait 1 more month or 6 months to have more data and to have a more robust study. So related with this, some key questions, still thinking and still trying to answer some of the important questions at the beginning when we start this journey. Some of the key questions are related with the steps. What are the steps that we need to take before we begin to write a paper? How we should develop the paper or the article, and the issues regarding the language. So how we can ensure that we are using proper manuscript language, and some cases not only a matter of English. I mean, sometimes we are native speaker. I'm not native speaker, as you can see, but in fact, the language for a scientific article is different from a book, a novel, or something like that. I mean, you can be a native speaker, and the result of writing a scientific paper sometimes is not good enough. I mean, the languages could be different. So be careful. We need to understand, that's the key word, to understand the language, the scientific language that is used for scientific articles. So what is this? What is a strong manuscript? Well, a strong manuscript A strong manuscript is the one that is original research work, that is supported by original research work, that is interesting. I mean, we should make our research interesting and, you know, with in a way that people like to read, people have a clear understanding of what we are doing. So should be interesting and challenging for the audience, should be clear and useful, and of course should be an exciting message. I mean, we want to share exciting news, even if the results are not so good, could be exciting. If our experiments were not so successful, even in those cases, could be an exciting message to say, well, we didn't obtain the results that were planned at the beginning, so we obtained a different thing. And that could be transmitted or communicated in an exciting way. The work should be presented and constructed with a logical flow, in a logical manner. So the narrative should be logical, should be easy to grasp the idea, easy to understand. So should be designed so that reviewers can, and the editors, of course, can grasp the ideas, can grasp the main message that you are trying to communicate. And don't forget this rectangle here. I mean, this main message. I mean, these people, editors and reviewers, they are very busy, and when they start reading a paper, they usually start with the title, and then they read the abstract, and then they read the keywords. And if the title and the keywords and the abstract are not good enough, they will not stop there, but they will have a big but. They will check one more session and will say, well, I mean, I can't understand anything about this. So these people, they are busy, as I already said, so you should develop your manuscript so that these people, in a way that they can understand and they can do the job effectively and efficiently, in an easy way. Another question is related with your audience. When you select the style of writing, when you select the type of journal, and when you select the journal itself, you should take into consideration the audience. Who is your audience? Is international or national? Is worldwide or local? You want to address experts or in a disciplinary field, or you want to address a multidisciplinary or transdisciplinary audience or researchers. So you should understand your audience. You should identify who is your audience. And of course, after that, you will need to adjust your research article, your information, according to that audience. And of course, the writing style should be also correlated with that audience. And journals, even in the same topic, in the same area, the same subject, if you prefer, they reach different readers, they have different backgrounds, they have different styles. In some cases, they have different rules to organize the paper. So each journal has a style. So you should read some of the articles that were published in that journal. You should read in detail the guidelines for authors, and to understand the style, the scope of the journal, the type of papers that they have, the style of communication, all that. Another question is related with the previous one, is which journal? How you will select your journal? Well, let me start with the last bullet here. You should ask for advice. You should ask your colleagues, you should ask your supervisors, you should ask, other people with more experience. And on top of this, you can always use some softwares. There are some software that are online. They were developed by the publishers, by Elsevier, by Wiley, by the main publishers. They have some softwares that help us selecting a set of journals that could fit our research. Well, according to my experience, they are not so effective, but you can use them. I mean, it's better than nothing. You can use those softwares to have an idea of some relevant journals, but it's much better to have some advice. And another thing that could help is to check the references in your article. When you are writing your paper, you are also reading many other papers. So you will check other journals, the papers that will fit and support your research. Those ones are fundamental to understand the ecosystem of journals that is related with your research, with your paper in particular. So please consider the aim and scope of the journal that we will try to publish. So check the journal website, read some of the papers published there, check the type of articles that they publish, check the type of readership that they have. And for example, some journals are mainly national journals or local journals. For example, in Brazil or in China, many journals are only for Brazilians or for Chinese. And that's okay. I mean, they are not so international oriented. They are national journals. And if your research is not so international, it's mainly an international topic, mainly a national topic with lack of data, well, with some data, but not a long a long period of data collection and so on. Maybe it's so relevant, it's relevant only for the local scale or for a local journal or national journal. And of course, don't forget to check what are the hot topics, what are the key things that they are publishing. It's reading some of the most recent papers. Still related with the selection of the journals, you can also select, because this is important in particular, not only for PhD students and for young researchers, but also for senior researchers. In some universities and research centers or research units, they select the journals according to the metrics. They select the journals, the ones that they consider for that university or for that context. So if they ignore other journals, I mean, you should not publish in those journals that they ignore. So you should be aware of that. I mean, try to understand what is the policy related with it at your institution, to see if you can select the journals that you want, or if you have some restrictions. And in some cases, the restrictions are related, for example, with impact factor, if the journal has a good impact factor or not, if the journal has many citations or not, if the journal, well, is first quartile of first decile. All those metrics sometimes are important to consider. According to my experience, in some cases, the journal has a good impact factor, but is not a leading journal in that field. It's much better to publish in a journal without impact factor in some cases, at least in some cases, but with a respected publisher and a respected editorial team. So be careful with that. It's a case-by-case selection. And be careful with the metrics. I mean, people talk a lot about this, but they should, to read the metrics, you should understand the context. And the context is very much related with the subject area. In some areas, the impact factors are quite high. In other areas, the impact factors are not so high. So be careful with the metrics. You need to understand the context before you use those metrics. I didn't mention, but the impact factor is one of the most, let's say, used metrics. It's very easy to calculate. is related with the number of citations in a certain journal versus the published papers in the last 2 years. So it's easy to calculate, it's easy to use. But there are many other metrics. So let me now explain and explore a bit the type of manuscript. I'm sorry, this is okay. The type of manuscript. What is the most appropriate type of manuscript for your research? And I would say that all of them, all the different types of manuscripts are appropriate for sure, for different stages of your research, for different purposes, but they are all okay. But they depend very much of what is the phase of your research, what is the purpose of your research. And I will explain, well, in the next minutes, the significant differences or the main differences among these different types of articles. Let me start. Well, we have mainly 4 types of articles: conference papers, full articles, short communications or letters, or letters to the editor is also quite common. Instead of this title, we can have letters to the editor instead of short communication. And we also have the last type of paper, review papers or review articles. Well, there are some others, other types of papers like discussion papers or viewpoint papers that I don't have in this slide, but they are very particular cases. And some journals accept those and others don't. So I will focus on these 4 types of papers, because they are the most common type of paper. The first thing I will explain one by one. The first thing that you should do before you start selecting the type of paper is to self-evaluate your work. You need to understand what you have in your hands. You should self-evaluate your work. Is sufficient? Is a long paper? Is a short paper? Are just a preliminary result? So you need to understand what you have in hands. And to answer this, again, please ask your colleagues or ask for opinion, talk with your colleagues, talk with your supervisor, talk with other people to understand, to have a second opinion on what you have. Of course, with more experience, I mean, you'll be able to understand in a more fast way. Sometimes outsiders, our colleagues and other people, they see things more clearly than ourselves. So when we talk with others, is always a good thing. So let me start with the first type of paper, conference papers. The first type of paper that I have here to share with you is conference papers. So they are excellent when we are starting our research, when we are doing a research project, when we are starting a research project or a PhD, or when we are starting a research initiative. So they are excellent to communicate early or in progress research findings. Usually these type of papers are not so big. They are around 5 to 10 pages. So they are smaller than a typical original research paper. So conference papers, when we go to a conference and present our research during a communication, those conferences are great to publish in the proceedings a preliminary version of our research using the proceedings of the conference. So you should draft and submit that paper to the conference organizers. So it's an excellent way to start a scientific research project or a scientific research career. The other type of paper is the full articles, original research articles. They are the most common type of papers. They are the standard type of, yes? No? Any question? I have some noise in somewhere, but no.
No, no, please.
Okay.
Can continue.
Wally, until what time I should talk?
No, just continue if you have the time. We are enjoying your presentation.
No, I'm okay. I mean, I will just to control my time. It's
okay.
I
Yeah,
already
if you
used-
can, if
I
you
already
can
used-
stop in 10 minutes or 15 minutes,
okay,
10
okay,
to 15, yeah.
that's fine. That's fine. So for all full articles, they are the, as I said, as I was saying, the most standard type of papers. They are typically around 7,000 to 8,000 words. And so they are great to disseminate completed research findings. When you finish a phase of your PhD, when you finish part of a project, when the findings that you have in hands are consolidated, you should try to publish a full article or an original research article. The short communications or letters to the editor, they are also very good when we try to publish quick and early communications with some original findings, original advances. They are much shorter than original research works. They are not so common for PhD students or early researchers, stage researchers. They are around 3,000, 2,000 to 3,000 and something words. Sometimes they are useful to send to the editor. This type of paper is sometimes the title is they are called or named letter to the editor. So they are also a very good way to present a kind of discussion about a certain topic in a shorter version, so in a shorter paper, but not so common for young researchers or early stage researchers. The review papers or literature review papers, they are mainly theoretical papers. They mainly present a synthesis or a critical synthesis of scientific of a specific research topic. And they are bigger than the other papers, usually around 10,000 to 30,000 or more than that, even more than that. And they provide a comprehensive review and discussion with a critical analysis of a certain topic. So they will present the state of the art of a certain topic, discussing and exploring in a critical way that topic. They are quite popular among PhD students and early stage researchers because people, when they are doing a PhD, or an MSc, they always do a literature review, and they assume that literature review can be published. And in fact, is a yes, they are right. But nowadays, these review papers are not so easy to publish because there are many young researchers and PhD students and senior researchers trying to publish review papers. So there are many reviews and they are repeating the review of the review of the review. And that's why the journals are rejecting review papers. So review papers are good, including for early stage researchers, but not so easy to publish. And in fact, many years ago, I don't know, 20 or 30 years ago, these type of papers were mainly by invitation, by the editor. When the editor decided to invite a very senior person to write a review paper. So for the real experts in a certain field. And then let's say, that pattern change a bit, and young researchers and other people start writing review papers and change a lot. But again, it's coming back to the previous, let's say, procedure that was mainly by invitation. So avoid risks. It's an important thing. Only submit manuscripts to one journal at a time. This is absolutely important. I mean, this is really important. Don't submit your manuscript to more than one journal at the same time. So this is forbidden. International ethics standards, they prohibit the multiple submissions. So you can't submit to two journals at the same time. Even to the same journal at the same time. Some authors try to submit the same paper twice in the same journal when they know that the journal is really big, and they know that will be in principle, a different editor handling the two submissions. So please avoid that. Don't do that. Let me stress some of the ethical issues because they are really important. So avoid duplicate submissions. That's one of the most important things. Don't be careful with the authorship problems. When you submit a paper, please provide your institutional address. Don't provide a Gmail, or a Hotmail. Don't. I mean, we really want institutional emails, the website of your institution where we can see your bio. So institutional information is fundamental. The third thing is be careful with plagiarism. Try to check the plagiarism before you submit to a certain journal. The journals are becoming quite strict regarding plagiarism because the numbers of submissions are increasing and increasing, and above a certain level, they simply reject your paper. So be careful with the plagiarism. Try to check the plagiarism using a software. There are many softwares to do this before you submit to the journal. Including self-plagiarism. Be careful. Self-plagiarism is the same problem. It's not different. Yeah, be careful also with the data and image manipulation. You can't reproduce, you can't copy an image to your paper without authorization from the author. So be careful with this. And of course, be careful with AI, artificial intelligence. Inappropriate use of AI could be a problematic issue. You are allowed, according to the majority of the big publishers, you are allowed to use AI only to improve your language, to improve the language, to improve the language in the manuscript. And in fact, the publishers are recommending to do that. I mean, to use AI to improve the language, but you are not allowed to use AI to generate part of the paper. I mean, part of the findings or part of the thinking, part of the critical analysis. You are not allowed to do that. If they identify that, they will reject. So using AI, this is a quite hot topic nowadays, as you know. Using AI is a responsibility. This is a responsibility that is, I mean, that should be managed by the authors and by the reviewers. We should not be using AI for other purpose than languages. That's the main message related with this slide. And authors are the ones that are ultimately responsible for the contents of the work. So be careful. In principle, authors should declare if they use AI to improve the language in the manuscript. AI, you can't use AI as a co-author or to help writing the paper from the beginning. And reviewers are not allowed to upload a paper, to review the paper using AI. Because when you upload a paper into AI, into, for example, ChatGPT, the paper will be uploaded to the database, so will be shared with other people. So you are not allowed, the reviewers are not allowed to upload papers in the AI software. So please do not use AI to assist or assisted technologies as a co-author and to generate new knowledge for your paper. Only for the writing process, you are allowed to do that. So in summary, regarding these questions, what are the steps that you and I, of course, need to take before we write a paper? So you should determine if you are ready to publish, if you have enough material, if you have enough data, new data, and so on. Decide on the type of manuscript, conference paper, full paper, review paper, and others. Choose the best journal, and really fundamental, check the guide for authors of that selected journal. I mean, this is quite fundamental. Don't submit a journal with a messy structure, with a blurred structure, a paper that doesn't follow the rules of that journal. I mean, all the editors hate wasting time, so it's a sign of disrespect for those people. We don't have more time. We'll stop here. So the next slides present details on how to write a paper from the title till the conclusions, with tips and details about the title, what we should do, what we should not do, what we should present in the abstract, how we should structure the abstract, what are the best keywords, how to structure the introduction, what we should avoid in the literature review, how to merge the literature review in the introduction, and the importance of the methods or the methodological approach, the importance of the results and discussion, and of course, finally, the conclusions, what we should stress in the conclusions. So I will be happy to discuss with you if you want, if you have any specific questions regarding this and regarding the previous part that I just presented. So feel free now to discuss. That's probably most important than presenting more slides. So feel free to ask, and I will be happy to help you if I know the answer regarding your doubts and questions. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Professor Ramos, for the wonderful delivery. You talk passionately about what you have been doing for decades now, let me say, because at least I've known you for at least more than a decade. And then you started publishing before it came across each other. Thank you very much. Somebody just asked a question in the chat box saying that with this presentation being shared, yes, we will share with all the people, especially the mentees and mentors of the Africa Graduate Mentorship and Coaching Program. But in case you got information about this presentation through a WhatsApp, you can contact me directly from the WhatsApp. Then I will share with you. Yes, I have one. Please do raise your hand if you want to ask any question to this guest speaker, and I will identify you and you'll speak. I have Desalina here from Addis Ababa University, Ethiopia. How are you, Desalina?
I am good, brother. How are you doing?
Thank you.
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead with your question, please.
Yeah, so shall I go to my questions?
Yes, please. Ask your question now.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Professor Ramos, for your very informative lecture. Really, you just touched most important part to go through the preparation and manuscript submission. Now, let me just ask you some questions for clarity. One, related with the plagiarism. There are many softwares. If we just check before we submit and save that software that our manuscript, it will be counted when the journal check again the similarity level. So how we can overcome this problem. Second, related to the types of journal that could be considered in the preparation process. You mentioned original manuscript, proceedings, short communication letter, and also some review. Now, regarding the last, regarding the review manuscript, do you have really any recommendation about the methodology? Because this is prepared based on the existing data. So do you have really sound methodology, since methods is also part of almost all journals? Third, my question is related with type of journal again. What's the difference really between short communication, commentary, and also letters? Finally, I would like to just hear from you about the open journal and also some journals, because especially in developing country, funding for open journal is a very serious problem. So what is the experience regarding to just get fully waiver publication? Thank you very much.
I'm not sure if I understood all the questions, to be honest, but let
Yeah,
me start with
you can respond to the ones that are very clear. Then you can also pick some questions from the chat box. Thank you.
yeah, but maybe
Yes,
you can
over.
clarify if needed. Should I respond, well?
Yeah, you can respond now.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Yes, let me start with the plagiarism. That one is clear. I mean, I think the question was related with the software, right? Which software we should use, or I mean, there are many softwares out there, but I mean, if you have access to the software that the journals use, that's the best, the best thing to do. In fact, they use Authenticate. That's the software that they use. It's the software that is inside the system. So that software is, if you have access to that software, it's the best to do. If you don't have access to that one, there are many other similar softwares, like Turnitin is also a very good software. So, and in fact, more than the brand and the type of softwares, that's, I mean, in principle, if you use let's say well-known software for plagiarism, in principle the results will be similar. And even if they are not so, if they are not exactly the same, you should ask the editor. If the editor decides to reject your paper due to plagiarism, he will explain the level of plagiarism, and you can answer again. You can ask for the report regarding the plagiarism. At least in my journals, if the authors ask for the report, we can provide the plagiarism report, and then the authors will check the sources that are responsible for the plagiarism. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The other question is related with the selection of the journal, right?
Yeah, journal type. So what is really the difference between, do they have really equal scientific value, for example, for promotion or maybe for academic degree?
Okay. Well, in general terms, you should select journals that are, let's say, respected. And it's not only a matter of metrics, it's much more than that. So metrics, they are important. I mean, if you know the journals, some journals, they have very good metrics. So for example, very good impact factor, but the publisher is not so good. So I would say that you should avoid them. If you can, maybe it's better to avoid them, at least at the beginning. Try to publish, if you are trying to, I mean, to get promoted, for example, at the international level, according to international rules, they will identify the journals that are respected at international level. So you should have papers published in international journals and not only in national journals. So if you, for example, here in Europe, I mean, you should publish, I mean, to get promoted or to finish a PhD in mainly in international journals. But for example, in Brazil, they have many, because I know quite well the Brazilian reality and also other realities, but let me give you this example. In Brazil, they have many national journals, and they are, I mean, those journals are not recognized at international level, but they are okay to get a promotion in the Brazilian context for certain cases. So you should understand the context. That's the main message. In your context, you should understand what is used to evaluate or to assess people, I mean, for promotions, for PhDs, to get a PhD, and for funding, etc. In some realities, they are much more restricted than in other realities. So I would say that with international rules, you should publish in journal terms in international journals, avoiding with good metrics if you can. For example, impact factor is just just an example, but there are many other metrics. Avoiding publishers that have problems, and there are some publishers that are considered predatory or semi-predatory publishers. Avoid them, because we never know if people will, the evaluators or the examiners will disconsider those papers. For example, in China, if you publish some articles in certain publishers, they will simply ignore those papers. And I can say the names, well, if you ask me, some of those publishers. And I mean, it doesn't mean that those publishers are all bad. That's not true. And those journals are all bad. That's not true. I mean, some of those journals and publishers, they have very good stuff. They publish some very good papers, but they also publish very bad stuff. So, and that's why they are not so respected, in particular nowadays, because these scenarios change a lot in the last couple of years, because the numbers increased. The number of submissions are not so big, so huge. That's why we have a different reality nowadays. Just to give you an idea of numbers regarding this rising trend, the number of papers, the submissions to Journal of Clinical Production are around 40,000. 40,000, so 40 per year. So as you can see, I mean, it's crazy. The other two questions were related with the clinical production letters with the journal that I'm editor-in-chief. And the third question, I don't remember, to be honest. But the one was, I think, was related with the journal that I'm editor-in-chief, the other journal, the smaller journal. That journal is very much interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary journal on sustainability. So we don't want disciplinary topics. We mainly want multidisciplinary works and transdisciplinary works. Yes, that's the, and of course, sustainability related. That's the main topic.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. There's a question in the chat room before I call on James. I would like to read and comment on that, sir.
Regarding the review paper?
Yes, please.
Okay, for review paper, are there methodology or tools best advice for getting on? Yes, there are many regarding review papers. There are many methodological approaches. Prisma is one of those. It's a well-known and respected approach. You can use that. It's okay. There are many others. But the most important thing is that a review paper should not be, at least for the good journals, should not be just a bibliometric analysis with some figures and graphics with the number of authors, number of papers, number of journal and types of journals. I mean, that's a good review paper is not like that. A good review paper should provide a comprehensive analysis and critique about a certain topic. And on top of this, nowadays, a good review paper must have a method section. Some authors present a kind of report, I mean, theoretical report without methods, without any methodological approach. I mean, for those reports, review papers structured like a report will be immediately rejected. So the structure, I mean, check the guidelines for authors. I mean, we have information regarding that. Saying, for example, that a review paper should the limit, it should be up to 12,000 words, for example, in cleaner production letters. Review paper must have a method section, all that. So all those details are provided in the guidelines for authors. That's the best way to start structuring your paper.
Very much. I think we have one more question before we round off. James, please, can you unmute yourself?
Thank you for the nice presentation. I have two questions more so regarding on the review paper. The first one is there a difference between the desktop review and also the literature review? I want more insight.
Between the desk and?
Desktop and the literature review, or are they the same thing?
I can't hear you very well.
I'm saying between desktop review paper and desktop review and literature review, are they the same or they have difference?
Desktop review and review.
I think desk review yes. And literature review. Yes, not desktop, but desk review.
Okay. They're similar.
Okay. Then the other one, when doing the systematic review, we use the keywords to search using the search engines, like the PubMed, where you just search the word, then it brings all the papers, then you can send them to the citation engine, then they can remove the duplicate. But when it comes to the Google Scholar, I want to know whether there's a way which we can, whether I use the main word and I get all the papers, whether there's a way that I can send them to the citation engine, then it can help me remove the duplicates, because I've tried, but I'm using manually. But if I can get a way, I could appreciate. Thank you.
Well, I'm not sure if I understood all the details that you provide in your question, but I mean, I think your question is related to the databases that you can use for the review, right? Including Google Scholar, right?
Yes.
Let me say a couple of things regarding that. Yeah, the first one is a good review paper can't ignore the main two international databases for scientific materials, for scientific papers. So Scopus and Web of Science. I mean, you can't ignore that. A paper that ignores that, it's a good way to reject, I would say. And for scientific material, Google Scholar and other search engines I mean, they are okay, they are good, including Google Scholar and the general Google. They are okay to, let's say, to complement the scientific material. In particular, I mean, when we are using a snowball approach, and when we do the scientific literature plus the non-academic or non-scientific literature, you should use other ways, I mean, to identify the material that is non-academic. So, and Google, of course, it's one way to do that. So you can complement your literature review using Scopus and Web of Knowledge with Google, and that's perfectly okay. If you are trying to cover both sides of the coin, the non-academic and the academic literature. Sometimes people, for example, from the business area, they don't use Scopus. They only use or Web of Knowledge. They assume that the business databases, because they have some relevant databases in the business area, they assume that they are enough, but they are not. They are not. They should use the ones that are the most important and well-known databases at international level for scientific material. Scopus, and as I said, and Web of Knowledge. I don't know if you want to add any detail regarding that question. Well, if
yeah, I think you rightly responded to the questions. It's in order. Literature, from my experience, literature, I mean, literature review is one of the most difficult things to do, but if you get the act of doing it, it's also the simplest thing to do because you are not, so it's simple and at the same time complex, but I think it's the best way to start publishing as a researcher. The moment you get the art of reviewing literature and put it into perspective for others to understand what was before and what's been the trend, you can do anything in research. So that's what I want to emphasize. Thank you very much. I want to introduce Professor Ramos, please. This program is for raising scholars in the African continent, and we have mentors on this call today. So both mentors and mentees are invited, and I have one of my mentors, Professor Oyeronke, on this call. I just want her to say a few things, maybe to encourage the mentees, also say thank you to you. I don't know what she will say, but I know she will say nice words. Professor Oyeronke, please. Odwala. I hope she's not busy at the meeting. Professor Odwala, please. Oh, maybe she's busy. Okay, I'm sure she will get back. Prof, you are muted if you are trying to speak, right? Okay, also have any other mentor on this call, please? I'm looking for where the names are now. I can't see it on my screen again, but that's okay. Lajuwon, will you want to say vote of thanks to Professor Ramos for taking his time, almost half an hour now, to speak to us? Lajuwon, please. Oluwatosin, can you unmute yourself? You just published a paper, so that's why I'm calling on you to perhaps say thank you to. Yes, we can hear you now. Maybe you can share a brief of your experience in your recent publication, then you say vote of thanks to Professor Ramos. Over to you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the privilege to give the vote of thanks. I want to say thank you, Professor Ramos, for giving us a very good enlightenment about publication. Recently, I'm trying to publish my second paper, and for like 2 weeks now, I've been having difficulties in getting a good journal. When I talk to some people, they said I must publish in a journal that is on Scopus, that have good impact factor, and so on. And with this brief meeting and enlightenment, I've been able to gain some knowledge about how publication is being done, and not just to publish in any other paper, because Prof talked about publishing in an international journal rather than just publishing in a national journal's outlet. So I want to say thank you very much, and thank you very much for the opportunity, for the broad explanation, for the comprehensive explanation. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. My pleasure. You are muted, Wale.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm so excited. Thank you very much for doing this for us. And even when you were difficult to track, your wife assisted me to track you.
I'm sorry, because I'm a bit slow replying the emails. Too many emails. I'm sorry.
Yes,
Well,
I know. Now when I know the condition now, when you talk about 40,000 articles for
yes,
journal
that's
clinical
that's part
productions,
of the
yeah.
problem, but
I
it's
mean,
not the only one.
yeah, but please don't tell us everything. We are even this
No,
way.
no, no.
It's difficult for us to understand. But again, by all means, we must get published. I must get published in a very reputable outlet. And yours is one of those reputable outlets that we have recognized. And maybe one thing, maybe this slipped my mind. One of the things, sorry, we are giving a vote of thanks, but this is just coming to my mind now. One of the issues we have as scientists in the continent is publication fee. We know we have good papers, but to publish $2,000 or more is a lot. But do you have advice for people where they can get to publish, especially open access journal that is free or with a waiver?
Yes, I have. The first thing is that in many journals, you don't need to pay anything. Journal of Clinical Production, if you don't want an open access article, you don't need to pay. If the paper is accepted, will be published there. Well, it's not open access, but
Yes,
you don't need to pay. You don't need to pay if you publish in a non-open access version. For the journals that are fully open access, like Clinical Production Letters and all the new ones, they are only open access. So for those, you need to publish, but with a big but. For certain regions of the globe, these publishers, the big ones like Elsevier, Springer, and all the Wiley, they have exceptions. They have exceptions, and including for several countries in Africa. I mean, authors from those countries don't need to pay, so they have exceptions to pay. I mean, to publish in an open access if you belong. I mean, if the authors are integrated in a certain region of the globe.
Okay.
Another thing.
Okay. Yes, go ahead. Maybe your advice would be for people to search for information on the field before they submit.
Yes, you should, because for example, if we write a paper together, you and me, my university, they have a kind of contract with Elsevier for us. I mean, until a certain number of papers per year, I will not pay anything. So because it's a contract, like in Netherlands, they have a huge contract. I mean, they don't pay anything. The Dutch universities, all the authors from the Dutch universities can publish without fully open access, without any payment, because it's the university that pays for those papers. Certain realities, they have a certain amount of papers that are allowed to be published like open access, like here in my university. So one thing is that when we have a co-author from one of these places, no need to pay, because the university will pay. So yeah, that's an important message. Also, for some young journals, they waive the fee. For example, in Clinical Production Letters, we waived the fee till July this year.
I thought it was last year.
Yes, no, this year.
Okay.
They changed because I asked for that, and I have some, let's say, offers to give to certain authors. I can invite some authors and give the free the open access for free. So there are several possibilities. We should check, in particular the countries that don't need to pay.
Okay. Yes, I mean, I have this mandate now to follow up with you. If there's any opportunity, especially for this mentorship program, we want both the mentors and the mentees to benefit from you, whichever way that works, whether to invite us or if you have a paper that you are developing, you want us to contribute to it, that any way that we can assist us will be greatly appreciated.
I will be happy to help. Well.
Oh yeah, as always.
And if you need this kind of session with a longer session, because I was not able to explain the entire story,
Yeah.
telling the details about the
Mm.
manuscript introduction, the methods, and blah blah. If you need that, of course, we need to plan in advance. You know, I'm always a
We
bit
need to
slow.
apply. Yes, you know, we have discussed earlier some years ago that we need to bring you physically, then COVID came and all that, but we still have that as a plan in the future to really come to our University of Ibadan. We have a doctor.
I will be happy
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah, we have a doctoral college as a postgraduate college, University of Ibadan. We're thinking that's one of the things that will expose our students, especially the doctoral student, to writing in good, reputable outlet like yours and others. So thank you very much. I think this is really fine. Thank you. Before I remember anything again. So it's been a pleasure having you today, and we really appreciate you. Please do extend our regards to the family of the Elsevier and your personal family, your son and your wife. Bye-bye.
It was a big pleasure, as always, to be with you, even when, you know, with distance and with